It's Wednesday, June 17th. I'm Scott.
I'm Rem.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, the Museum of Comic and Cartoon Art Arts Festival 2009. Let's do this.
Oh my gosh, shoes.
Oh, God.
Randomly, we both did something related to shoes today.
Yeah.
Independently. I mean, I have these like 15-year-old boots that I wear almost every day. Like I wear them in place of dress shoes. I love these boots. They're super comfortable. They're like black leather biker boots. They're great. And I periodically maintain them. They've been rehealed like 5 or 6 times, resoled a couple times. I've had leather work done to them. I mink oil them all the time. And they were getting real...
Does that mink oil come from real minks?
Actually, yes, it does, sadly.
How do you get the oil from the mink? You just kind of grab a mink and kind of rub it and the oil comes out?
I have these horrible images of squeezing them like a rag.
Why would you squeeze it? You could just sort of stroke it. I mean, they're all oily, right? Because it's like, you know, the way humans have oil in their hair, the minks have oil in their fur, right?
Traditionally, I believe they kill them and take a gland out. I'm not sure. All I know is that...
Why would you do that? If you leave the gland in, the gland keeps working and making more oil.
All I know is that I bought mink oil a long time ago before I knew that they really made it out of minks. And...
well, you know, duct tape is made of ducks.
I have not run out yet. But once I finally run out, I'm going to buy synthetic mink oil, which I found out also works better than real mink oil.
See, that's one thing, right? There's like some cases where like the real deal is like we can't beat it, but in cases where you can beat the real deal with something synthetic, why does the real deal even still exist?
Well, I mean, look at diamonds.
It's a good one.
Anyway, but... I finally, you know, I was sitting there at work today and someone looks at my shoes.
Tachikoma situation.
And they're like, your shoes are looking pretty ratty. And I look at them and, you know, yeah, they were getting kind of ratty because I hadn't maintained them in a while. So I went to the cobbler, Underground Central.
Oh, the Eddie's cobbler?
Because I happened to have an extra pair of shoes with me at work for unrelated reasons.
All right.
So I switched shoes. I'd walk over and I'm like, can you fix these? And he was like,
yes.
You haven't been taking care of these, have you? Look how dry they are.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically gave me the Jerry Seinfeld treatment for a few minutes, and then he's like, 26...
Oh,
yeah.
the car, I'm taking this car with the golf clubs
He's like, do you even like these boots? I mean, you got to oil them. And I'm like, I know. Can you oil them? He's like, but are you going to oil them when I give them back? I'm like, yes, I'm going to oil them. He's like, what kind of oil? I'm like, mink oil. He's like, okay. $26. I'm like, fine, here's $26. And he rehealed, and now my shoes look great.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's what I got.
Yeah. So it like you know, it's been raining pretty much constantly here. It's probably gonna rain again, I think.
Did you look at the forecast?
Rain.
I looked at the forecast for the entire week at work today. It will rain every day through Sunday.
I planted this tomato plant, right, weeks ago. I have not watered it by hand. I watered it by hand once because it's rained every day.
This has been
it's not raining nonstop, but every 24 hours it rains. It's like, Florida, were you in Florida here? What's going on? It's terrible.
I know.
I mean, I came out of my building this morning, not this morning, after work, and some sort of crazy some, you know, bum type person. I wasn't sure if he's an actual bum or just bum like. He made a comment to a hobo? No.
A hobbit?
A loiterer, right?
So a bum.
No. The loiterer was like a business guy who was just leaning against the building smoking or whatever.
Nah, smoking.
And he's like, and the bum was like, how about that global warming? Ha ha! And the loiterer was like, ain't none of that here. So, you know, I've been clever and sort of avoided most of the rains. You know, I got an umbrella.
It's not that.
I had a hoodie. I never got wet.
I wouldn't really classify that as clever. It's pretty easy. Humans have been avoiding rain for as long as there have been humans.
2 or 3 days ago, I think 2 days ago, when I left work, 3 days ago, when I left work, right? It was raining crazily, and all I had was a hoodie. So what could I do? I had to go to the train. The sooner I got to the train, the better. So I just went through the rain. You know, I got as least wet as possible, which was soaking wet, including my shoes. And then, you know, I put my hoodie and my such in the laundry room with the fan on overnight. So they dried out. And luckily it wasn't raining back in Beacon. But
Is this going anywhere?
yeah, I keep going because I'm just sort of trying to remember what happened there. Basically,
Wait, this must be a fascinating story.
oh, it's not fascinating whatsoever. I don't even waste my time. The shoes are still wet the next day. It sucked. And I sort of, it made me think about my shoes, and I looked at them. I'm like, damn, I bought these like a long time ago. I should buy some new ones because these are actually sort of
So I take it you did, and that was what was in that box on the front porch.
Yeah, so I went to Zappos.com and I bought some new shoes. And the thing is, right, like back in the day, whenever I had to buy shoes, it was never difficult for me to buy clothes or anything. But for some reason, shoes were always difficult because like they didn't fit or they were too short or too long, right? And it was the fitting problem, And I'd go to shoe stores and there'd be nothing good, or there'd be a bunch of like ugly shoes there. Or who knows what was going on? And so, I had all this trouble. But the shoes that the ones that I'm getting rid of that got wet, right? Those I bought at Zappos.com, and they showed up.
You're sounding like an ad here.
I know, right?
And the worst thing is that's the only place I buy shoes from either.
I know, right? And they were perfect. It's like I didn't even try them on until I got them and paid for them already. Perfect. So I go and I did the same thing, and they're perfect. They're probably...
The shoes you got
I put them
now.
on, and immediately I put them on, and I was like, oh my God, these feel like they're not brand new.
Those new shoes are actually, they're strange to me because they have the top... like of a high top. Like they look and feel exactly like an old school basketball playing high top like I used to wear.
Well, they're Merrell. See, that's the thing.
But they're not high tops. They're mid tops, but they have a high top. It's crazy.
It's their Merrells.
Like cats and dogs living together.
See, my dad was all like, oh, you should get the Merrell. And I'm like, yeah, Merrell, Schmerrell, what the fuck is that?
Hey,
I guess stick with my New Balance, right?
Hey,
so,
I remember I was wearing some of the earliest New Balance tennis shoes.
Mm-hmm.
They were so expensive. I was in like middle school, but for some reason I got them. They were suede pigskin.
Yep. So I used to be all Nike, and then I was New Balance, right? But then, my dad had been like, Merrell, and I was like, whatever. So my boots died, the boots I had, from before. So I went to EMS and I was like, I saw the Merrells there and I was like, huh. And I put them on and I was like, whoa, shit. And they were expensive, like over $100, but whoa, shit. And they were like, they're serious business. And I investigated, and Merrell is sort of like a yuppie, outdoorsy kind of brand. And they're sort of high end in an Apple kind of way, in that like anytime EMS is a sale, it always, 100% of the time, excludes all Merrell products. Like, you get a coupon from EMS, look at the fine print. It says, not good on Merrell products. Because they're so fancy, they won't discount them for any reason,
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, there's a reason that they are awesomely and incredibly high quality. So when I went to Zappos, I saw that Merrell actually has two different kinds of sneakers that are... most of their stuff is sort of outdoorsy, boot, sandal, leathery stuff.
So, Scott, here's the real question.
Mm-hmm.
Do these shoes match your handbag?
All right, that's enough of that.
I mean, you spend so much time telling us this story, and obviously you spent so much time looking for shoes, and that was why we were running late to the shore at Otakon all those years ago. Pete and I are trying to look at video games and go, but now you had to buy shoes. Oh my gosh.
They didn't have any. And then after we got back from the shore, I went to Zappos and I bought those New Balances. And that's how old those New Balances are.
Those kind of match the handbag.
Uh-huh. Right. The handbag.
So listeners, which of our stories was more boring?
They were both the most boring stories.
Let's get on to non-boring stuff. Otakon, we are going to be there. We're doing at least 3 panels.
That is a big surprise. Oh my God, the listeners are shocked.
Yes.
Spoilers, we're going to Otakon. Oh my gosh. I didn't see that one coming.
We're doing 3 panels. 3 of these panels. Korera. 3 kinds.
3 kinds.
All I really want to say is that
2,
if you saw one
5,
of our panels
3
at Anime Boston, we are doing the exact same panels at Otakon. Anime you should see, know your creators, Beyond Dungeons and Dragons.
So if you saw us at Anime Boston, do not come to our panels at Otakon unless you really like reruns.
Well, do not come to any of them except Know Your Creators, because we have completely revamped it again. It is the 3rd kind.
So if you like to see...
Korera. 3 kinds.
If you like to see the same thing repeated in a different way, we have 1 panel for you.
But there is much more exciting news from Otakon than the fact that we are going to be there doing panels like we always do. So remember the best concert Otakon ever had, which was L'Arc en Ciel, Hyde, performing
Oh, I was gonna make a joke, but I guess not.
performing at the arena. Like, it was like a full-on concert. The entire band came. It was crazy.
I was trying to remember of the name of the girl who pretended to play guitar, and I was gonna say her name.
I forgot her name, too. But Muck played. Well, it was Muck, right, that played after her?
They played out. Yeah, they were all right.
They were hardcore. I liked
They were
them a
good,
lot.
yeah.
But Otakon, I mean, they always get really good concerts, but that was kind of a peak of concerts. That was unprecedented and crazy.
TMR was pretty crazy.
TMR was pretty crazy. Lark was just like the next step up from that. Well, Hyde is coming back to Otakon, not to do a concert at Otakon, but it just so happens that the band he is working with now, VAMPS,
That sounds a little bit emo vampire type.
is going to be doing a concert in Baltimore on the Thursday of the Otakon weekend.
Baltimore.
Thursday, July 16th at Sonar Baltimore. Vamps is going to be doing a full-on for-real concert as part of their world tour.
Yeah, I knew they were touring in the U.S., but I was not aware of this Baltimore show or the Otakon timing.
Now, not only that, if you're not going to Otakon, right? They're performing in D.C. just before that. They're going to be in Hartford, Connecticut before that.
Wow.
They're going to be in New York City before
That's
that.
a big-ass tour going to
Yeah.
Hartford. I mean, Hartford, no one's going to come see you. Where are they playing in Hartford?
They're playing in Hartford at the Warped Tour New England Dodge Music Center.
Oh, it's a Warped Tour. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
But they're also going to be
It's
in
like
San
you're better,
Diego,
if you're just in Connecticut alone, you're better off going to New Haven than Hartford.
LA. They're doing it in Vegas, but they're also going to have their official party there in Vegas.
Ooh. Vegas.
So all sorts of stuff. They're going to be in New York City on July 11th.
Well, we don't have time for that.
Now, but we're most likely going to see them on Thursday at Otakon because we go to Otakon like Thursday morning. We're always there by noon.
You know he wants to go back to Baltimore. You know why?
He can have two.
He can have 2 crab. You want to eat the crab. That's why he go back.
So if you're going to Otakon, tickets for this concert are like $30, and it's a for real concert.
No, it's cheaper than an Otakon ticket.
Now, because here's the deal. That was the
And many
news.
people have bought Otakon tickets to see the same person, which cost more, right? And that's the only thing they wanted to see.
There was an update. Apparently, Vamps has decided to change the schedule and stay in Baltimore one more day just so that they can also appear for a panel and signings and stuff at Otakon.
Oh, shit.
They're going to be at Otakon on Friday with autographs, and they're going to do a panel and supposedly all sorts of crazy stuff. But the only way to guarantee access to the panel is to go to the concert.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's sort of crazy because it's like anyone who's awesome enough to get there Thursday and go to the concert, it's like they give you a double bonus. So it's like people who are like huge fans but like can't make it Thursday. It's like, well, you're either double bonus or you're double screwed.
But at
There's no like
at the same time, what always saddens me at anime conventions is that I'll see the fact that cons basically have to bribe people to go to the panels of the cool Japanese guests, but yet people line up for 4 hours to get their stupid autograph.
I don't understand autographs at period. Like,
But it's one thing, like, I can understand getting a cool autograph. I mean, remember when I got Magic Johnson to sign that Super
well,
Mario
but that
Brothers
was
thing?
not waiting in line for an autograph. That was a special situation. That was, it's not the autograph that matters. It is the thing that the event that occurred.
But,
If you had waited in line and Magic Johnson would have signed the piece of paper, it wouldn't mean shit.
man, I wish someone had filmed that because that would have been on YouTube. I could have done something with that. But
Yeah.
I've still got the autograph. If I can just get Captain Lou Albano to sign it.
He appeared at, I forget where he appeared. But
I
go
know.
on,
I
keep
just
going.
didn't want to stand in line. But anyway, many cons now do a thing where they give you a token to if you go to the panel for a Japanese guest, and without that token, you don't get an autograph. And I feel like this is a fairly elegant solution. If you care,
That's all right.
the majority of the people who care about Hyde or Vamps or Kaz are going to go to this concert because almost everyone who cares about Otakon gets there Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be at this concert. I recommend all of you go to this concert. Live music is almost always worth it. Even if you don't particularly like the genre of music, Live music, it's always awesome, unless it's Fantomas.
You know what I would do if I was a convention-y person, right?
What would you do?
Well, because basically the autographs come in two styles, right? There's the free autograph, which is wait in line and just sign, right? And there's the sort of pay autograph where you pay a whole bunch of money to get the rare person, right? If I was someone that people wanted the autograph of, what I would do is I would say, okay, if you want my autograph, right, what you have to do is you have to purchase a thing, right? So, and it would be my merchandise. You'd be like, you can choose a T-shirt or a book or whatever I'm selling, right? And so you're not actually paying for the autograph. You're buying a merch from me, right? And then by buying that merch from me, I will spend like 2 minutes or so talking to you. So it's not just hi, sign, goodbye, right? And I can tell after 2 minutes talking to you if you're actually a fan or if you're just some eBay schmuck or whatever. And if you're just some eBay schmuck, I just won't sign your shit. You know, you bought my merch and you got your 2 minutes with me. That's what you were paying for. The autograph is just if I like you, right? So there's no guarantee of the autograph, right? It's just, you know, you're paying for merch and talking to me.
So
right? So fans will be thrilled because their merch and talking to me is worth 1,000,000 times more than my name on a stupid piece of paper. eBay dudes will hate me. They won't get my autograph, right?
So,
but I'll still, if a fan is an awesome fan, which I'll figure out from talking to them, I will sign something which is not it's not something they purchased. The autograph is just me doing it because I want to.
So what's going to be the going rate at Otakon to get 2 minutes with Scott?
Well, it's just the cost of whatever my merch is. So if my book is $15, my book is $15.
You're going to have a book?
I don't know, whatever. You know, the Geeknights box set, whatever I'm selling. You just pay, you know, if the t-shirt's $10, the t-shirt's $10.
Remember when we were going to make that Geeknights box set? And we discovered
well, you know what? We could do a Blu-ray.
Yeah, we could, and it wasn't feasible back then. It is now.
It was not feasible to do. You know, we could also do USB stick, because, I mean, I just bought an 8 gigabyte USB stick for $30. So we could get 16 gigabyte, like, SD cards and use those. Yeah, we'd have to charge a lot of money, but we could do it.
Anyway, so one last piece of information, and this is why Otakon always kind of takes the cake. Otakon, for the most part, always does the right thing. They're setting up a special booth on Thursday, no details yet, for people who are going to the concert to be able to pick up their badges early so they don't miss the badge pickup in the evening while they're at the concert. That is badass.
That is badass.
I'm looking forward to this because I know that Hyde had a great time in Baltimore. And I know that
Otakon makes sure that all those people have a great time in Baltimore.
Yeah, that is primarily Jim Bowles being like the god of guest relations.
Mm-hmm.
That guy, like, if you think anyone has ever been good at guest relations, you need to meet Jim. That guy. But anyway,
so we gotta move along here. We took way too much time talking about shoes and Otakon.
Shoes, oh my gosh. So last bit of news. We are going to be at Kineticon. We hadn't said anything about it yet for reasons that we're not going to get into yet to save time. But July 31st to August 2nd, Kineticon. It's a video game, webcomic, anime.
Week before, after Otakon?
I think it's
2 weeks after.
I think it's Otakon, then we have the Week of Awesome. There's one weekend off, and then Kineticon.
Mm-hmm.
One thing led to another, and Kineticon is the first convention to take us up on the give Geeknights a room to schedule as we see fit for the entire con.
So you don't have to be like, you know, hey, when are your panels? What room are they in? There is one panel room. It belongs to us. It is the Geeknights room. You can just spend the whole convention with us in this room, and we will be doing things the whole convention in this room.
However, we will actually have a secondary room in addition where we will have Luke Crane and all of our game masters from the front row crew and occasionally us running games.
Is that a separate room? I think it's just some tables in a room.
Well, it's in the tabletop gaming area.
Yes, we will have a room of panels that is always constantly on, as well as some tables in the gaming area that we own.
So, here's why I bring this up. Obviously, Kineticon's pretty awesome. We always have a good time there, especially for the gaming content, but the anime isn't too bad. But here's the deal. We have a couple of slots that we haven't finalized filling yet. So, don't get me wrong. We are not saying, hey, send us your panel and we'll get you into Kineticon. What I'm saying is that if you think you have a badass panel, if you think that you can impress us and you have the best thing you've got and you want to do it at Kineticon, tell us by Saturday. You don't have much time. This Saturday, you know, it's Wednesday, June 17th. You have until Saturday, June 20th. and we probably will say no, but if you put up a good front, there's a chance we will schedule you for a panel at Kineticon.
And you also have to be going to Kineticon.
Yes, it's not hard to go. The hotels are not sold out.
Yep, and I guess there is a free badge opportunity, right? I mean,
Yeah, plus Kineticon, we haven't, Scott and I will personally be doing like at least 9 or 10 of the panels. Good God. So
maybe we shouldn't do any together. That way we can, spread it out.
So if you want to see all of our experimental stuff that we haven't done at other cons yet, it's all going to be a Kineticon.
And lots of reruns because we need to fill in this time.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, one more news.
One more
news, yes. On the comic book order form this month, which it is
the DCBS?
Yes, well, it's everyone uses the same comic book order form, but if you use DCBS, it's also this month. So it's June, so July, August. So coming out in August, Fantagraphics is putting out an Usagi Yojimbo collection.
Oh, shit.
It is a hardcover slipcase collection of the first 7 volumes, 1,200 pages of the beginning of Usagi Yojimbo in a fancy hardcover slipcase. And at DCBS, with a discount, it is $50.
There's really no excuse.
This is think about the Hellboy library editions are like 30-something on Amazon, right? So this is big time action here, So how can you not? You can't. So go get it.
Yep. And also one last thing, just because it is noteworthy, I'm not going to talk about it obviously, but Hayao Miyazaki is going to be in the US in California on July 28th.
The rumor is he's going to make a secret appearance at Anime Expo, but I don't think so.
I highly doubt that. But John Lasseter is going to be there too. And basically, this is... Remember how Satoshi Kon got that retrospective in New York City? And then he was like, well, I hope I get another one because I feel like I'm just getting started. This is pretty much that times a million for Miyazaki.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, before we get to it, things of the day.
How long has this episode been already?
Not that long.
Okay.
We've gone on longer.
All right.
About less. But Chipmunks and Star Wars. I'm not exactly sure what the deal is, but
is it like Alvin, Simon, Theodore as Darth Vader, Luke, and Han?
Nah, basically, as far as I can tell, this guy had wild chipmunks living near him, and he bribed them with almonds and then surrounded them with various Star Wars figures and took pictures of them. And reacting to the Star Wars figures in various ways.
I think I saw one of these because I saw a stormtrooper riding on a chipmunk.
That is, in fact, the first picture I'm looking at.
Oh, see, I saw that picture, yeah.
The one in the end is pretty good. It's an Ewok taking a spear to the chipmunk, and the chipmunk's got his mouth open like, ah!
Oh, it's a good one.
There's only 7 of them. This isn't that much of a deal, but I'm sick of using videos from College Humor as things of the day. So, for once, a non-College Humor video thing of the day.
All right, so my thing of the day is a webcomic that I discovered, but I haven't read it, so don't blame me if it's no good. But I looked at it, and it looks really good.
I can pick things of the day if I don't even know what they are?
That's all right.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
It's a webcomic. It's called Marsh Rocket. M-A-R-S-H, like a bog or a swamp, a marsh, a dank, spooky marsh. And rocket, like into outer space. Marsh Rocket. It's a webcomic. It looks cool. It looks sort of like sci-fi anime of awesome with some pretty interesting coloring going on, and I will read it, and then I will know if it's actually written well or not. But in the meantime, you got nothing better to do. Read a webcomic.
So, usually we cover this right after we go, but, we're on the alternating schedule now, but we were at the MoCCA in New York City.
Well, not at the MoCCA. We're at the MoCCA Arts Festival, which is a once-a-year event for the MoCCA. It is their primary fundraising event, and it is pretty much the best comic convention in New York City. Take that, New York Comic Con. Oh.
Yeah, it pretty much is.
Oh, snap. So we've done shows about it in the past. Do you really want to spend a lot of time talking about what the MoCCA was?
No, let's just get right into it because we got some good stuff.
We did get some good stuff. Actually, so we went to the MoCCA, and the first thing I got there was like a print, actually, which is sort of usually I just get, comics there, and I don't really buy arts. but I forget who it was, and they didn't put their business card in with the poster, so that was so I don't remember them. Sorry, but it was like this awesome print where it was all red, and then there was like this big pile of blue junk in the corner, and this person was sort of falling out of it. It's pretty awesome. So maybe I'll try to find it and post a link in the forum.
Don't forget,
if I can find out who did it.
We also got the Futurism print.
Oh, yes, that we quickly, soon after, made a stop at the Wondermark table.
Which, the Wondermark table is always wonderful. Every year I buy something.
Oh, yeah, so...
and this year did not disappoint.
Yeah, well, I was disappointing, though, that he's usually sharing at the Puck building. Right? First of all, it was in a new building this year. It was in an armory, as opposed to it used to be at the Puck building, right? But the armory was instead of being separate rooms, it was just one big room. So, all right, one big room. Has advantages and disadvantages. Lost a little bit of charm, gained a little bit of efficiency, but it was really hot in the armory. Really hot. I mean, the Puck building was hot, but the armory was real hot.
Well, what really got me was I remember standing there and I'm sweating and I'm feeling just overwhelmed and then I look up and I realize that in the sky there are 11 burning suns of death. And
well, they would have turned it off. It would have been pitch black.
But the thing is, maybe a third of those lights were actually on. I can't imagine.
I remember I walked into the festival and I smelled some nasty BO and I was like, whoa, I didn't know this is, I thought this, this isn't usually a fanboy convention. It's usually, cool, hip, indie type people. And it is cool, hip, indie type people. But it was just so warm within some minutes I had the BO, even though I had deodorant. It was just that hot in there. Everyone was...
we also met up with two awesome listeners/friends, Phil and Timo.
Oh, yeah, Timo all the way from the Finland. Totally awesome.
Who was also in Boston.
He was in Boston because he's a physicist and he was doing some physics action
But
in
he
Boston.
took some time away from the physics to take the Chinatown bus all the way to New York just to go to the MoCCA.
And he showed us some really good comics from the Northern Europe, so totally sweet.
Yeah, we'll talk about those. I think we should just get right into all the individual things we got.
Yeah, so here, the first thing I'll talk about is, the Wondermark we were talking about. At the Wondermark booth, we bought both of his posters. He was selling both of them for $15, so it was $15 to get two. Usually it's $10 each, I think. So we got the Futurism poster and also the Hierarchy of Beards poster. Highly recommended posters for your wall. Very stylish.
I'd been planning to buy that Hierarchy of Beards for a while, and it was there, so I got it.
And that Futurism one, it's like $5 extra, and it was totally my style. All right, so here, I got, this is a book I actually didn't buy at the MoCCA. It is Ace Face, the Mod with the Metal Arms by Mike Dawson. I haven't read it yet, so I can't tell you if it's good or bad. But Mike Dawson, if you remember, he did the Freddie and Me book.
Yep.
Which is totally awesome in a million ways.
Scott got something very special from him.
Yes. You see, I had my pirate sketchbook, you see, which, I always sort of, I think, I'm just going to give this to everyone and get a million sketches in it. But, I think it's better to just get a few at a time, one or two at each convention. And then over the years, it will build up, rather than... just doing hardcore on it. So the only, pirate sketch I got at the convention was from Mike Dawson. And usually I just tell people, draw whatever you want that's piratey. Anything that you want, but has to be piratey in some way. But instead, I told Mike Dawson to draw Pirate Freddie Mercury, and draw Pirate Freddie Mercury he did. And that's all there is to say about that.
It was quite epic.
And this is his new book, and I'm sure it is awesome because it is made by someone who draws Pirate Freddie Mercury.
So, Lamar Abrams has put out a comic called Remake.
Man, I saw the cover of this comic around. I had seen it and I recognized it when I saw it. But then we actually got to the table and we saw Lamar Abrams, and he was totally cool. He was an awesome dude. And I actually flipped through his comic and I was like, oh wow, this is more than what I thought it was going to be. And I read it.
Ananth liked it too.
It's sort of Astro Boy. Well, it's sort of Mega Man, but really what it is, I think, it's Astro Boy the Jerk.
Well, there's a little bit of Scott Pilgrim, just in
the dialogue, I think.
In the
Scott
dialogue,
Pilgrimish, yeah.
And also in the way characters will kind of look, almost make the internet face. They'll look up and away and smile a little bit.
Yeah, you're right.
But there's also a tiny bit of Tekon King Crete almost, just in the way the characters present themselves and the sudden jumps to extreme and needless violence.
Yeah, but no, I really think that the summary of this book I would give to someone, it's Astro Boy the jerk, you know? He's totally Astro Boy, but he's not nice, and he's not evil, he's not a bad guy, right? But he's just an asshole to people. He'll just break shit, or just go to sleep when he's supposed to be doing something, and so it was really funny. I like this book a lot.
I haven't read it all yet, but the two best parts so far is I like the girl with the drill hands.
Yep.
And I like
hands.
the cat.
Yeah, the cat's good.
I really like the cat.
The girl with the drill hands, yeah, I think that's one of my favorite parts too.
We need more of her. She needs her own comic.
Yeah. Oh, just drill hands, girl.
Yeah, I would read that.
And and at the end, there's some Pluto-inspired action towards the end there.
Well, it's funny because I interviewed him a little bit, and he basically said, "Yeah, this is inspired by," and then the list of things that we said.
Yeah. So yeah, Lamar Abrams, totally cool. You know what? I want to see. I'm really looking forward to he's got to do something else, right? Or maybe he has something else. I got to go look at his website. You know,
he has quite a bit.
Because if he made this, he made some other awesome stuff, or is going to make some other awesome stuff that I want probably even more. You know, so Lamar Abrams for the win.
All right. So what do you got?
All right, so at the Drawn and Quarterly table, right? First of all, they had some very nice deals on some Yoshihiro Tatsumi. It was like buy Drifting Life and get one of the other Tatsumi books cheap or free. There were some good deals going on, but I already had all them Tatsumi books, so I noticed they had another deal going on. They had Adrian Tomine's 32 Stories, the Complete Optic Nerve mini comics, and if you bought that, you would also get another Adrian Tomine book. So I got Shortcomings, right? So basically I got both of these. It was a combo. I saved like $10, right? And the thing is, I haven't read either of these yet, so I'm not going to say much about them, but Adrian Tomine's 32 Stories, right? It's this little cardboard box. It's sort of like a brown cardboard, and you slip the box open, and inside is a cardboard box that actually contains all 8 mini comics, all separate. It was a box full of mini comics. It wasn't like a trade paperback that had all the same pages as the mini comics reprinted. No, it's actually the 8 mini comics in a box. And I thought that was really cool. It's a very nice production, and that alone was totally worth it. And of course, this is much hyped and much critically acclaimed. And I know that Tomine is an appreciator of Tatsumi, so he knows good comics, and he's, comic creator himself. It has to be good. It's a guaranteed lock. That's why I bought it.
Pretty much the first thing I saw, though, when I walked in, and I had to buy it, and I think I'm going to have to buy the rest of these forever. Tim Raglan made this series of gigantic children's picture books. Well, they're in the style, at least, of a children's picture book. Scott and West, A Complete Story Adventure, Volume 1, The Curse of Tutankhamun. It's basically a Scotty dog and another dog and cats, and it's just anthropomorphized dogs and cats on old Sherlock Holmes style action adventure. It's hard. I can't do it.
What was
justice.
That other book he had there? It was like Uncle So-and-so, Christmas? Right?
Yes. He had several. I only bought one, but I plan to buy the rest.
Yeah.
The only reason I only bought one was that I didn't want to carry these gigantic books around the entire MoCCA.
Yeah.
But the back will give you an idea. Presenting the curse of Tutankhamun, being the legacy of an ancient cat most uncommon, international adventure mystery and a seasoning of intrigue. For little misses and masters, extensively embellished with colored engravings, sure to delight and improve children of every age.
Mm-hmm.
These books are beauties to behold, and to get a sense of how big this is, it is the size and shape of Scott's monitor. It is the same aspect ratio, in fact.
It's a pretty big book, I gotta tell you.
This is the kind of thing that I would give to a child or put in my library on the top of my shelves with a little tripod.
Mm-hmm.
It's a display book.
Yeah, so you should definitely be on the lookout for these. I noticed recently there's sort of been, a greater interest in these high-end children's picture books that are sort of comic-y, sort of, it's like there's a line between what's an illustrated book and what's a comic, right? And, so there's a lot of stuff like The Arrival, by Sean Tan, right? Stuff like that is sort of really sort of making a push into the comic scene, and it's not just sort of staying in the children's illustrated book scene. And this I noticed the illustrations in these type of things are just absolutely stunning. And who cares if it's not technically a comic, it's not paneled, it's not sequential art. Who gives a fuck? It's this amazing illustration. I'll buy it. I buy a print of one picture. I'll buy a book full of awesome pictures on every page.
Plus, he gave me, along with the book, a giant sticker of Dr. Mew Manchu.
Dr. Mew Manchu.
It's just, these are so wonderful.
We
books.
should turn Dr. Mew Manchu into an internet meme.
I'm sure we could.
I mean, he's already ready. It's already primed. You just got to pull the trigger. All right, so I sort of have a problem when I go to the MoCCA, right? It's sort of, I tell myself, first of all, spend like crazy, right? Because you're not going to see this stuff anywhere else. Just go nuts. Don't hold back. If you have a slight feeling about something, just buy it, right? Of course, what's one thing that holds me back is that Rim buys stuff. If he's going to buy it, I'm not going to buy it, right? Another thing that holds me back is sort of, I'm always sort of like, okay, I'll see something that might be, I'll judge it by its cover, but I won't have a lot of confidence that it's actually good, right? It's like I'll see something really cute, but I don't actually have a lot of confidence that it's actually any good. It's just really cute, So I sort of feel like I want to buy it for the cuteness, but then I don't want to buy it. So I sort of limit myself on cute things. I'll be like, I'll only buy one or two things in the cute category. So I bought one thing in the cute category, which is Cooking with Food Volume 1 by Evan Palmer. And so I see this book sitting there, and on the cover it's a mini comic. There's all these different foods: an apple, potato, an onion, some peppers.
That tomato wasn't looking so good.
The tomato doesn't.
I think he has some problems.
He's biting his tongue. He's not happy. A little lemon, an avocado, a pickle, garlic. And there's a knife and a spatula, but they're not anthropomorphized in any way, or legumomorphized.
Well, they're definitely anthropomorphized. They talk and walk around.
Well, the vegetables are, but the spatula
and the avocado is said, but those two mooks don't know anything about it.
Right, so I bought this because it was so ridiculously cute with the vegetables with different cool faces and expressions on them. I got home and I actually read this on the train home. It was actually like so awesome, like 100 times awesome, and not just in its cuteness, but in the fact that A, you're getting real recipes, and B, it's actually well written, and like the vegetables are all great characters, and it's totally sweet. And I'm just like waiting to go to MoCCA next year, hoping I can get Volume 2 and get more cooking with. It's called Cooking with Food. I mean, it's like
just
to give you an example, right? The first page, he's sitting there, he's about to cut this potato. Suddenly, the potato has eyeballs. Then the
potatoes have eyeballs to begin with.
Right. Then the potato says, "Hey, Evan." So he stops cutting the potato. He's like, "Yes, potato." And it goes from there. So, Cooking with Food by Evan Palmer is 100 times the win.
I think he had a bunch of other little things. So.
Yeah, EvanPalmerComics.com. There you go. It's on the back of this book. So I am looking forward to more Cooking with Food and more Evan Palmer.
Speaking of little things,
that teaches me a lesson. Don't hold back just because it's cute.
I did pick up number 2 of the Diarrhea Diaries.
Oh, Diarrhea Diaries.
I very much enjoyed them on the same level that I enjoyed that other comic that I couldn't find anymore, The Prison Stories.
Oh, that was a good one, yeah.
You know what I like more than killing?
Yeah, it's weird. It's like this autobiographical comics, but then there are sort of these... They're comics that are like true tales, It's like it'll just be sort of a bunch of true stories that are all really short. The kind of story you'll tell someone like, "Hey, one time, blah, 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 blah." So someone draws up that short little story in like a few pages of comic, and you do about 10 of those, and you slap them together in a book, and you got yourself, a nice comic. And I really like that genre, whatever genre that is. And I see quite a few of them at MoCCA every year, and they catch my eye.
But, in particular, it is always easy to draw me into something.
With bums, prison, or poop.
The more of those are in the same comic, the better.
That's Rim's. If you want to sell comics to Rim, make them about bums who get into prison and then have poop fights.
But the thing is, it can't just be normal bums. It has to be dapper bums.
Yeah, of course.
They have the more dapper, the better.
Yes.
A dapper poop, I don't know what to do.
They're not a stabbing hobo. They're a pooping hobo.
Poop jokes in top hats.
That was the Wondermark.
That's why I read Wondermark.
Yep.
I thought the comic was called that for a long time until I finally looked at it.
I know, right?
Oh. But the Diarrhea Diaries is always fun because they're basically true stories from this guy who has had many misadventures in pooping.
I mean, I have sometimes bowely problems. This guy, he's got real bowely problems.
But he basically told me that it is surprisingly cathartic to just not try to hide it and just to tell these stories. And even though he went through everything in these stories, the fact that someone else can get a laugh off of it makes him feel a lot better about it. But issue number 2 is all close calls.
Yeah, I mean, because even if you have bowel problems that are pretty serious, you're not going to be shitting your pants that much, right?
Well,
so, you'd only so many stories you've got that are true, So he sort of, I think he's used a lot of stories in volume 1, like 4 or 5 stories of poop in volume 1. So, of course, volume 2 had to be the close call stories. But that does not diminish the quality of these stories in any way. In fact, some of these stories are even more epic than the volume 1 because, it's got that whole holding it in action is really the power in the Diarrhea Diaries. It's the suspense of, is he going to make it? How's he going to make it? What's he going to do? Is he going to actually find it in a bathroom? Is he going to poop in the woods?
I just realized I got to email him and point out, don't shit your pants.
Oh, man.
I'm sure he'd love it. He's a cool guy.
Yeah, that's right. That'd be awesome.
I point him out because I don't want to talk about all the things like this, but this is an example of the kind of, anyone can publish an indie comic and anyone can present at the MoCCA.
This guy's not the best. It doesn't someone draw it for him,
These are 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper with black and white, basically Xerox, stapled together with a color paper wrapper. That's it.
And folded in half with a staple.
And yet, here they are. And you know what? I enjoy them.
I enjoy them very much. And if it wasn't for the MoCCA, I'd probably never get them or see them or know about them or anything.
So I also have in front of me another small one, and I did pick this up, and Scott also picked it up, so we accidentally have 2.
Well, let me cover this one.
You want to cover Paul Friedrichs?
Well, so Rim was standing at this table talking to someone else, right, about, what was it, the Gilgamesh table, right?
Yep. I was interviewing them.
And so he's standing there talking to this person, and I'm just sort of hanging out, looking around, and on the table in front of me, I see this book, Don't Trust Evel Knievel, and I'm like, okay. And on the cover, there's a sort of a sketchy drawing of a cartoon character of Evel Knievel. You sort of only see his helmet. It's sort of like, he looks like the Stig with stars all over him, basically. And it says on the cover, Evel Knievel is saying, buy this book. And then every page of this book is pretty much the right-hand side of the page, right, says don't trust Evel Knievel in some font. And on the left side, there's a picture of Evel Knievel. And he has one speech bubble. So let me read to you some of these.
They're all, bet it all.
It's safe to pet a lion as much as you want after it's eaten a gazelle.
They want you to be up on stage.
You can jump that far easy.
I'm sure that's how it's spelled.
Whatever's in that giant mouse hole can't be that big.
The roller coaster's supposed to do that.
Lightning can only strike you once.
I never miss. they just
the
go
roller coaster's supposed to do that.
I said that one.
Oh. You don't need your shoes for this. You should have one more beer.
There's definitely a genre, a kind of comic where it's almost the concept comic. And there were a lot of these. We picked up another one, The Wolf Who Cried Boy. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But it was pretty much just a concept, but it was amusing enough to where I picked it up. It's the kind of thing that you read once, it's amusing, and then you give it to someone.
Yep. Yeah, but, this is the kind of thing where it's like, you don't sit down and read this book, you just leave it lying somewhere, maybe the bathroom. And, if you just need something to read, like during the 2 minutes while you're eating your cereal or whatever in the morning, you can just open it up, pick any random page, and maybe you'll get a laugh. It's sort of, and it's pretty funny. And I mean, at first I looked at it when I was standing at the table and I was kind of like, but then I opened it and started reading it, and I was actually laughing. So I was like, oh my gosh. So I'm like, all right, I laughed at your book. Here's my money.
I think part of what made it funny is that individually nothing in here was that funny, but the repetition, like it's one of those things where people try to do something clever with the form of a media or a work as opposed to the content, and usually it falls flat on its face. But here, just the don't trust Evel Knievel in a different font on every single splash page made it funnier because it's kind of like every joke.
It's almost like a Photoshop thread.
Like it keeps building
like there's a common theme, but each and everyone sort of gives their own spin. So each of these pages has a different line of dialogue. It's almost like one of those caption contests. It's like caption this image. Well, that's what this book is. It's a caption contest where one guy had with himself.
I rather enjoyed it. But while Scott was picking this up, and then I was picking it up later, I was talking to Kent and Kevin Dixon, and I walk up and I see this comic, and it looks interesting. It's Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh!
Misused in many anime.
Also, apparently it's a 4chan thing now.
Really?
I'm not sure what the deal is, but someone made a joke on Fark, and then someone else explained that it was a 4chan thing, but apparently people just post a picture of someone and type Gilgamesh underneath it, and I don't know what it's referring to.
Mm-hmm.
But what this is, and I was interested, and I started talking to the guy, and I put the microphone in his face, like, hey, you want to give me a few words? And he's like, you should wait until the artist comes back. I'm like, okay. And then the guy's like, yeah, the artist is my son. And I start talking to him. Then his son comes back. I did a short interview. But basically, the father would read mythological tales, Greek mythology and Gilgamesh and things like that to his son when they were young.
Zeus.
And
that's for you Messenger fans.
Getting older, to get his son to do something, he decided to make his own rendition, which is basically a rendition is when you take multiple different translations of a work and synthesize them along with some of your own original translation work into a new kind of interpretation of the work.
Yeah, because, a lot of these old stories are either A, oral tradition, so there is no official version, right? Or B, they were originally written in some language of old, Greek or even older than that. So, it's very difficult to know the exact story, or even if there is such a thing as the exact correct story. So there's just sort of like these common things, it's like, okay, if it's going to be this story, then it has these characters and this is the basic story, and then fill in the details around it however you want.
But it's not just that. I mean, even if you have one original work that is translated multiple times, if it's especially older languages, you can translate things in different ways, and there are different interpretations of what was actually being written.
Mm-hmm.
So the father put that together, and the son illustrated it, and it is a very direct retelling of the Epic of Gilgamesh in comic form.
Mm-hmm.
And the story there alone was interesting. And when he signed it, he actually wrote something in cuneiform, which I thought was kind of...
I think it's cuneiform.
I have heard it pronounced both ways by people who had enough clout for me to trust them, so I don't know.
We defer.
I defer to the internet.
I'm actually interested to read this because I don't know very much about the story of Gilgamesh. It is referenced quite often, so I feel, I'm never going to be able to read, the full big on hardcore mythology of my life, but I'll probably be able to read this comic very quickly.
The comic is also, it's told in a very direct and literal form.
Yeah, so now when there's all sorts of Gilgamesh references in novels and anime and who knows what, I will totally get them.
Yeah, well,
instead of being illiterate.
I note that a character someone posted for the Burning Wheel game we're playing this weekend, Enkidu, you should learn who that is.
I've heard of Enkidu before.
Well, all will be made clear when you read this.
All right.
And I got to put up the interview at some point because this father-son duo there was something cool to be there at a table.
Yeah.
And to meet a father and son who collaborated on this comic. They're not comic artists or anything special. They just got together, did it, got it printed, set up at the MoCCA, and there they were with their epic.
Yep. We did a bunch of interviews at the MoCCA. Most of them were very short, sort of like, hey, who are you? Tell us about your comic kind of things. But, last year we sprinkled those throughout the episode itself. I think what we should do is we should take them all, just string them together into one audio file and put it up as an extra.
Yep.
Maybe in the experimental feed or something like that. I don't know.
It'll be up at some point. I didn't want to extend this episode any longer.
And we didn't want to spend a lot of time editing tonight.
Yeah. And normally I do this stuff on the train. But anyway, I didn't get to it. And some of these people had really cool stuff to say.
Yep. So the next book I have here is Top of the Heap by Keith McCleary. You might remember Keith McCleary from last year because he did, what's the name of the book?
Yeah, he did Killing Tree Quarterly, which
see, I had the cover was in my mind, but the name of the book just wasn't coming.
Because we talked about that last year, and he found our episode later and he emailed us, and he's pretty cool, and I liked Killing Tree Quarterly.
Yeah, Killing Tree Quarterly is pretty good because it was sort of like, the mixed racial Western sort of story. It was totally cool.
Yeah, plus he's definitely improving as time goes on.
So Top of the Heap is his new, because we saw Killing Tree Quarterly and we're like, hey, we know this table. Let's see if there's anything new. And sure enough, there was. Top of the Heap, an animal story by Keith McCleary. Now, the first thing I noticed when I look at this, well, of course, I noticed it's an animal story, but This book is like really amazing looking. Like every page is like a full color, shiny printed painted image from like the all covering every single, spot on the paper from edge to edge. There isn't really, panels going on. And the images are just stunning, like absolutely stunning.
Well, I believe
amazing.
Originally when he did Killing Tree, he used, I think, Poser or something like it with 3D models to kind of set the scenes. And then he made it from there.
Yeah, so it's really amazing. It looks like, every page is like a full-on painting, and it's a story that involves a circus and some animals, and I'm not going to spoil it for you. And apparently he also told us that there is a crossover, in a way, between this and Killing Tree Quarterly, if you have read them both.
Yep, he said it's something clever.
Yes, so Top of the Heap is totally awesome, and how could you not? I mean, it's just, it's a nice little comic book with like this, incredible artwork on every single page. Oh, I'm just gonna sit here looking at it.
Yep.
You keep doing whatever
So
you're doing.
speaking of something little, Leslie Ann Mackenzie Stein. That's either one person or two people. I think it's two people. But these are basically we found this table and they had this gigantic spread of laminated pages with cutouts of paper in it, and basically
South Park style.
Yes, and South Park style is how they make these comics. And it was a pretty cool concept of how they put it together. And I picked up one of their works. I think it was the first or one of the earlier ones that they had on the table. Yeah, it is. And while it's clearly this comic is some sort of, not necessarily an inside joke, but definitely an inside story. Like it is a story from their lives or from someone's life that is completely in media res with no context whatsoever. So it doesn't really give you any resolution necessarily or any context, but I don't know. It was a neat little comic. I really like the style. I obviously don't want to talk about what it's about because I'll spoil it. It's so short, but
Yeah.
the series of drawings done by Jim Morrison after she wakes up from her drunken binge.
That was the best part, is when she wakes up from being drunk and the dude just tells her what happened while she was drunk.
That was like that right there. And also just her being drunk and just the style. And I don't know. This wasn't necessarily a great work in and of itself, but I feel like good things are going to come out of these people.
Well, she had that whole new book was sitting, right? She talked about how, like, with this one, they scanned it in, but that with the next book, the one that was sitting on the table, like, she had the actual, the copy of Yeah, It Is that we have is just, the scanned in and then printed out book, right? But the new book, she actually had all the pages with the actual, she used the scissors and cut out the paper and pasted it together. She had the actual thing there on the table, and that looked like something really amazing, and I can't wait to get that. But she said for that one, she's going to actually take photographs of all the pages instead of scanning, to sort of get like some shadows going on and all that sort of good stuff. So
Yep.
I can't wait for that book, whatever it's called.
You got any more?
Oh, yes, I have two more. You have a lot more.
Two. I got like 7 here.
I know, because that's why you spent all the money and I didn't. So this is a book that I actually knew about before I went to the MoCCA, and I had planned to buy it a few times, and I planned to buy it, but then I saw it there, and you see something at the MoCCA that you thought of buying before, you're gonna buy it. And it's called The Bizarre Comics of Booty Rogers, right? And
I read some of that on the train home.
yeah, so basically this dude was this awesome dude way back in the day who just, his name was Booty Rogers. That was his real name. And, he wrote, those comics that he wrote were in the first ever comic book, right? That's how old school and awesome this guy is. And his sort of style of comics, it's a very old style, of course, art-wise, but it's actually, even though it's really old, I mean, sort of the art is better than, like, Superman, if you ask me. And it's just so wacky. I mean, not that there's nothing else in the world that's wacky, but it's sort of uniquely wacky in many ways. Like a lot of the creatures and the people and the way things are drawn. It's like you got like, I mean, the stories about like, getting swallowed by a hippo, and then, the hippo has an armchair on its back, and it's totally and completely off the wall kind of shit. And actually, I really like it. And actually, it's still, even though it's like this incredibly old humor, it's actually like so old, it's funny again. And I'm totally digging it. And Oh, so the book itself, actually, someone named Craig Yo sort of, took sort of, these works of, Booty and he compiled them into this book. And it's from, who's the publisher? I'm wasting time. That's all right. You should buy, it's a Fantagraphics book, of course. Who else would print up something so awesome?
Who else but Fantagraphics?
Yes, Fantagraphics is... It's a $20 book. You can definitely see this on, the Amazon or wherever you need to get it. But you should just go and look for the cover of this book, all right? It doesn't cost you anything to see the cover on Amazon. The Bizarre Comics of Booty Rogers. And if
you'll see where this is going.
If you see that cover and you like what you see, then you know what kind of business you're in.
So Timo went over and eventually directed us to the large Scandinavian presence at the MoCCA this year.
Mm-hmm.
Many Scandinavian artists were there, many Scandinavian comics, and one that I picked up that he highly recommended, and I can see why, Keha, or The Ring, by Titu Takalo.
Oh, I gotta read that.
Which is a Finnish comic, and apparently Titu is a very up-and-coming comic artist, but this is not available in English, so I actually have the Finnish version, and included with it is an English translation on a separate little book.
Oh, how nice.
The art is amazing. It's about this boxer, and I don't want to say any more than that, other than that this is pretty awesome. And it reminds me, again, how much I love a lot of comics that never make it into the English language. I mean, remember at the New York Comic Con 2 years ago, all those French comics? It was just every comic there was awesome, and they were all in French, and none of them were in America.
Yep.
And I feel like Scandinavia has a slightly better chance because it seems like they're trying a lot harder, and they're really getting these artists out here. And
yeah, they definitely, I don't know what it is, but they definitely make a push at the MoCCA. The Norway, the Sweden, the Finland. They really do push at the MoCCA, at least, if nowhere else. Their comics to the United States market. And you look at Jason has made some pretty good progress. So it's, if he can make some progress, so can the other ones. Because I definitely am seeing a lot of stuff at that table that is just as good as Jason. So I'm excited.
But this was awesome. So you should. I can't say check it out. It might not be that easy to get just yet. But keep an eye out for Titu Takalo, and I'm sure I'm pronouncing this name incorrectly.
I'm sure. Timo also pointed out this book by Tom Gauld called The Gigantic Robot. And I had seen rumblings about this book online. So, when Timo, said, hey, you got to go check this book out. It's amazing. And I saw the book in person. I was like, okay, I'll buy that.
The fact that he held it in front of me and read it to me.
So let me read a little bit to you. Of course, it doesn't really work at all without the illustration.
It is primarily illustration.
Yes. So pretty much it's this big cardboard book, actually. It's like these big, nice, thick cardboard pages. And all the left-hand pages have words, and all the right-hand pages have pictures, right? So page 1, the war rages on. Page 2, a site is chosen for the secret project. Page 3. A mysterious structure is erected. Work continues day and night.
Each one of these is illustrated just an entire page.
The structure is dismantled. The gigantic robot is revealed. And then it goes from there. This book, it only takes a few minutes to read it, but I actually spent like a good 10, 15 minutes like really looking at it. And even though I know the whole story, it's just one sentence per page and one illustration per page, like you can just keep looking at it over and over again just because it's very powerful. And it's one of the better giant robot stories I've seen. And it involves no giant robot fighting, which is kind of interesting.
The thing is,
it also sort of works as a flip book.
It's very poignant and very. I liked it a lot.
Yeah,
you can learn a lot from it. In fact,
you can learn a whole lot about a great many things. Here, let me read what it says on the back. A perfect little book Tom Gauld turns futility, decay, and eternity into sheer comic wonder. His black humor makes Beckett look timid. And The Gigantic Robot is a wry fable concerning the production of an impressive secret weapon whose promise goes unfulfilled. There you go. Buenaventura Press. Tom Gauld, The Gigantic Robot.
So The Gigantic Robot was something that tried to do something with the form and did it very well. Now, There were two independent comics not related to each other called The Wolf Who Cried Boy.
One of them was by the Cat in Common guy, right?
Yes, I believe so. And the other one was by Paul Frederick. And I picked that one up just kind of randomly. And not so impressed, to be honest.
Oh, we're giving a bad review to a MoCCA book. You're so mean.
But Paul Frederick, the same guy who did Don't Trust Evil Knievel, does The Wolf Who Cried Boy. And you'll see. You read it, and he's trying to go somewhere with it. It's obvious what he's doing, and at the end, you get it. But it just repeats far too many times.
Yeah, if he would have just repeated, because The Boy Who Cried Wolf is a story about repetition. It's there's a wolf, no, there isn't. There's a wolf, no, there isn't. So it's the repeating part and then the finishing part. And this book, does that story. Of course, is The Wolf Who Cried Boy, right? But it repeats the beginning part too many times. I think if he would have just repeated the beginning part 3 times or 2 times, it would actually worked pretty well as a nice mini comic. But he repeats it like 5 or 6 times, and it's literally an exact repetition. Like he's just literally drew some pages and copied and pasted them in order so many times. At least that's what it looks like. So that repetition is sort of like and you flip through to get to the end. And the end is, it's the expected kind of good end of the comic. I just,
It makes a point. It's just, I think it could have made its point a lot better than it did.
Yeah, just cut out. I could just take a scissor and make the book perfect by cutting out,
No, I would have left the repetition in, but I would have made it slightly crooked every time. And that would have been fine.
That's also a good alternative.
The fact that it wasn't slightly crooked pushed it beyond brilliant and into inane for me.
Yeah, if the repetition was either fewer or each repetition was slightly different from the others, that would have been, perfect.
But I have to talk about Bone Sharps, Cowboys, and Thunder Lizards.
How could you not buy a book with that name?
A tale of Edward Drinker Cope and the Nathaniel Charles Marsh and the Gilded Age of Paleontology.
The Gilded Age of Paleontology?
It's set in the Gilded Age, and it's just the early days of the discovery of dinosaurs and paleontologists, and it's some good old-fashioned scientist paleontologist drama.
So that's not what the cover looks like.
Well, that's what it is. Quote, the Wild West provided the setting for some of the famous battles, but the gunfight at the OK Corral can't hold a candle to the Bone War. In the late 1800s, the newly reunited states dug, tunneled, and blasted its way to the Pacific Ocean, exposing rock that hadn't seen the light of day for millions of years. Nor had the bones buried in those rocks. Bone Sharps, Cowboys, and Thunder Lizards is the story of Edward Drinker Cope and Nathaniel Charles Marsh, 2 scientists who found and fought for those bones, and the artist Charles R. Knight, who almost single-handedly brought dinosaurs back to life for an awestruck public.
Yeah, that second part there, the dinosaurs back to life, awestruck public aspect.
Well, as in by drawing pictures of them.
Oh.
There are not rampaging dinosaurs. This is a tale of scientists.
Oh, because the front cover makes it look as if there are rampaging dinosaurs.
Well, the front cover, you see, is doing something cool and clever. Yeah, I enjoyed it thoroughly.
See, I had not read the book, and I saw that cover, and I had assumed, perhaps wrongly, that the interior of the book was, going to be a literal exposition of what I had seen on the cover.
No. It is much more straight up.
Oh, okay. That's cool. I actually now want to read it more, knowing that.
Do you have any more, or am I in the end run here?
You're on the end run.
All right. I picked up a whole bunch more. I'll talk about one more, because this really stands out. Swallow Me Whole by Nate Powell.
That's some top shelf, right?
That is some top shelf.
I would have bought that so fast if you didn't buy it.
I have not read this yet, but several people in the crew did over the course of the last week, and every one of them has told me unabashedly and without any reservation that it is amazing. As far as I can tell, I'm trying to avoid knowing much about it, but it is a tale of a family just going through their daily life, but the grandmother is dying of a terminal illness, and the 2 kind of main characters both have some mental illness. Each one of them has a different mental illness, and the story basically just kind of follows their lives from the perspective. It kind of really illustrates what it is like to live in the real world as a real person with a real, actual mental illness like schizophrenia. And it portrays it in this loose panel kind of pseudo-realism. It's hard to describe, but it looks absolutely amazing. And from the brief interview I did with Nate Powell, who wrote it, he based it is not based on a true story, but a lot of the experiences and a lot of the visuals are based on the fact that he works with people who have these mental illnesses. And he knows a great deal about what it is that they experience literally through their senses on a daily basis. It does not look like it is a happy read. I will point that out.
You think it's going to be, it's a romp.
I will put it is a comedy romp now. But the illustrations are amazing. The panel structure is all over the place. And the production values, this is a hardcover book of the highest quality.
I think that's a top shelf, limited kind of thing. I think the actual one is if you buy it on Amazon, it'll be soft cover. I assume. Usually they don't do the hardcovers like that it could be. I could be wrong.
To quote one of the reviewers, because I obviously haven't reviewed this yet or read it, quote, "In the belly of Swallow Me Whole, there are dangling conversations, flying pills, final moments, front stoop haircuts, classroom assaults, waves of pain, loss, and paranoia, and a few of what Dave Eggers would call heartbreaking tableau of staggering genius."
All right, so actually, I don't have any more books in my pile here, but I do have a couple other things we saw that I would like to discuss.
I have my instant mustache.
There was one cool people. They had instant mustache.
I think it was
card.
Joanarchy.
Oh, that's a good name.
Yeah.
No, I saw at the Vertigo table they had Jeff Lemire's original graphic novel.
Jeff Lemire. He's the one who did Essex County.
Yeah, they're actually, you know what they're coming out with? Complete Essex County, whole thing in one book.
Oh, I should just buy that anyway.
Well, I have the separate books. Why would you?
Just to give to someone else. I don't know. My dad, that's like a good gift for a dad.
Oh, you want me to get you? I can get you one. I can order it now. Get discount.
Yeah, get it. I'll give it to someone.
All right. What's it called? So I saw his new book there. One of his new books is he's doing 2 new books. He's got an original graphic novel, and then he's also doing an ongoing series he's starting. I forget the names of them right now, but I flipped through it, and Jeff Lemire is like the new hotness, as we said. There is no doubt about it. His name is basically the stamp of gold. If you have his name with a price under it, that's the amount of money that's escaping your wallet, unless you suck.
Oh, I did pick this up. I didn't know who wrote it or anything, but I Will Bite You. Remember this?
Yeah.
I got it solely because it's basically an inside joke for the front row crew.
Yeah.
It as far as I can tell, the moon comes down to the sky and bites some kid. And that's
I mean, that meteor hit some kid in Russia recently, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Meteorite.
There was so much
bite.
There was so much more we could talk about at the MoCCA. I missed a million things.
I do want to talk about the girl who had the silhouette picture frames.
Oh, yeah.
What else did she have
and
there?
the Victorian soaps shaped like guns.
Right, yeah, that's what she had there.
Those silhouettes were brilliant because I didn't notice it at first. And she was like, "Do you like these?" And I was like, "Yeah, they're okay." And she's like, "Did you really look at them?" And I'm like, "I'm about to." And then I realized what they were.
Yeah, it's like you see this table, and she's got some cool stuff there, right? And it's like, oh, man, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. And she's got, like, soap in the shape of a gun. What did it say on the she had, like, a clever saying on the soap.
She did. I forget.
I feel so bad. But there were these, like, little picture frames, and I was just sort of ignoring them because they weren't it's like if you walk by a table quickly, and there's something that's small and subtly humorous, you won't notice it. You have to actually stop and look closely and examine, and then you will see the humor, right? So actually, these are kind of a good thing to, like, maybe hang on the wall somewhere, these silhouette picture frames, because, like, anyone who looks from far away, it just looks like a classy, tiny picture frame. But if you get close, it's epic lols.
Oh, my God.
Epic lols of what's in the picture frames. Totally epic.
Yep.
Times a billion.
Oh, and we didn't actually get to see her, but Kate Beaton was there.
Right.
Fat Napoleon and all.
Uh-huh. Oh, we also talked to Randall Monroe of XKCD.
Oh, yes, we did.
He was very, he was weird because on the one hand, he was like, basically, it was a lot of other people at MoCCA are always walking around, moving around, right? He was sitting in his one spot. He had the longest line of almost anyone, right? His line was blocking off the adjacent tables. And he basically had his head down and was drawing, XKCD sketches pretty much the whole time. So we got up to him and we're like, all right, we'll give him a break. We just chatted with him a bit. We had a mutual friend, so we used that as a way to introduce ourselves. And
Yep. Now, but I was like, hey, you want to give us a short interview? And he's like, I'm really awkward. And it would be awkward.
It's weird. He said he was awkward, and he said, that he felt really awkward right then and there. But at the same time, like in our short couple-minute conversation, he said 2 or 3 things that were like epically hilarious and awesome.
Now, I probably won't do anything with this, but New York State, you realize, is a one-party consent state. And I happened to leave the microphone on because I have the...
How well did it record, though, if you were holding it all near your body?
Really well.
Uh-huh.
I don't think I'm going to put it on the show, but I do have the recording of the entire conversation we had.
Well, it wasn't like an interview conversation, though. It was just sort of a person-to-person real conversation, so it's not too useful.
But it's always, at the same time, more interesting.
Yeah. But anyway, we thought Randall, he wasn't never at MoCCA before, so it was really interesting and exciting to see him there and see just how many people were lining up to get XKCD sketches.
It makes me happy that XKCD is so popular because I love XKCD. It is one of my favorite comics.
Yeah. And, and it's, if he went to, like, New York Comic-Con, no one would be paying attention to his crap.
Well, no, because they're there for the Silver Age Spider-Man and nothing more.
But at the MoCCA, XKCD is like, longest line.
I think we'll have to wrap it up here, but shout-outs, obviously, to all the cool people we met at the MoCCA.
Yeah, people
a lot of listeners stopped up and said hi. One group of kids, they walked out with this giant pile of comics, and they're like, "You're probably going to review all these, but we figured we'd buy them anyway."
Yeah, I mean, so we had who was it? I saw Ian Levinstein there. We saw Ananth and George there.
Yep. I did buy Awesome 2 Awesomer.
Oh yeah, we should talk about that.
I didn't read it yet.
So Indie Spinner Rack, right? Charlito and those Mr. Phil and those awesome guys over at the Indie Spinner Rack podcast. They put out a book a year ago or so called Awesome, the Awesome Anthology, right? So I bought it because, I love those guys and I'm totally cool with them. And it's basically they just got a bunch of their artists, that they know, comic artists, to sort of contribute a few pages, short little bits. And they made this anthology book called the Awesome Anthology. And they sold it. And, with the money, they, were able to support Indie Spinner Rack, of course, and 2, they set up a scholarship to send someone to the Center for Cartoon Studies in Vermont. And actually, the Center for Cartoon Studies had a table there. So they decided, hey, let's do Awesome 2, Awesomer.
So is 3 going to be Awesomest, and then that's it?
I have no idea. But they did Awesome 2, Awesomer, and it's awesomer in many ways. First of all, it's bigger and better. Second of all, they're still doing the, donation to a scholarship to go to the Center of for Cartoon Studies, and it is published by Top Shelf. So it's like 100 times awesome in all directions, and because it's published by Top Shelf, it'll actually be a lot easier for normal people to buy it than was Awesome 1. So if you can, go and look for Awesome 2 Awesomer, and it is worth pretty much everything. And it has a Jeff Smith cover, Jeff Smith of Bone. Yes, that Jeff Smith did the cover for this book, and that alone means you should buy it. I mean, I pre-ordered it, and I made Rim buy another one anyway.
And I think that wraps it up. Though, breaking little news for us, we did all the convention stuff early, but we have finally set in stone the schedule for the first of our possibly numerous panels at PAX West this year.
Oh, shit.
Friday, September 4th at 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. in the
Wait, what time?
11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m.
If that interferes with any sort of keynote action, I swear to God.
In the Raven Theater,
Raven.
we will be doing Beyond Candyland.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, snap. I didn't think we get that one accepted.
Neither did I. I thought we were doing the other 3, so...
Sweet, but
Yeah.
if that interferes with the freaking keynote, I swear to God.
The thing is, at least we've seen one. We've already moved on to doing big things.
Yeah,
at
but
this
I don't want
con.
to... See, that's the thing. PAX, unlike the other conventions, has the big events that everyone goes to, and I really don't want to be set... There's so much time that is not opposite them. I feel like they shouldn't even put anything opposite them, except for, the always open stuff, like the, Anyway.
Yep, I think it'll work out.
All right. Is that it? That's the only thing that's scheduled?
For now, I'm just now, like right now, getting all the emails to
Let's
sort
put
through.
Beyond Candyland on the Kineticon schedule.
Yes, easily done.
Okay.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.